there has to be another way to fight both climate change as well as support human sustainability, cultural, social sustainability.
Social entrepreneurs, they aim to set up a business which in first place tries to have a positive impact. To say, okay, can I invent a product or a service that tackles this problem, but also gives me a way of financing myself so I can sustain the work that I'm doing.
It is our region and it is our future. Make sustainable production and consumption the new norm.
Taking social and ecological sustainability into account is key for a functioning economy that ensures long-term prosperity for all. Countless studies and reports have come out just in the last few years warning about the detrimental impact that inequality and disregard for climate change and nature will have on the economy. The IMF writes that high inequality can be detrimental for macroeconomic sustainability and for sustained long-term growth. Nature is supplying more materials than ever before at the high cost of unprecedented global declines in the extent and integrity of ecosystems. Climate change and biodiversity loss makes every day that goes by more uncertain, while more and more money will have to be spent on repairing the damages that we have caused. The economic system is an engine for producing wealth, not environmental protection or a just distribution of the benefits reaped. We need an economic system that works for people and nature and not by exploiting them. When we talk about moving away from business as usual, we talk about moving away from the idea about profit over all else. Simply focusing on profit and GDP allows us to forget about what is actually sustaining the economy, that is, people and the nature around us.
Yeah, they say that you laugh. I just saw myself smiling when you also release fear. And I think that's also, something that is important to name, that we are really worried about the way how our consumption production is influencing the earth and is, impacting humans and the natural world alike.
It is also important to keep in mind that environmental, social and economic sustainability have to work together in order to make a change. For far too long, they have walked separate paths, and it's time for them to start acting together so that we can reach the goal of a sustainable world by 2030.
I'm one of the co-founders of Generation Rights. We started an Instagram account with the purpose of sharing human rights violation, especially in connection to businesses, corporations, natural resources, sustainability. Me and my friend who started, we felt like we were reading up on so much in regards to different corporations that we felt like this needs to be common knowledge. We have been focusing a lot on natural resources in Africa, for example. The things you need to make electric cars. People just want to, generally you only think that electric cars is so great and it's good for the environment, which it is, for sure. But it has a really dark kind of backside. So we want to talk about this. We want to share knowledge about sustainability, especially concerning human rights and social sustainability.
There are plenty of human rights violations within the cobalt industry in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. There are a lot of slave labor and there are a lot of forced labor. People are not getting paid enough and they are hungry and they are poor. And because of this, a lot of families are also sending their children to work in the cobalt mines. And the working conditions are very hazardous and there is a lot of injuries and health issues, and a lot of people even die in mind collapses.
How can we have a world where children work for slave, salaries for us to have electric cars and then kind of disguise it behind the fact that we do it for the environment? It's just complicated. It's kind of a paradox.
And if you would take corporate social responsibility, so the responsibility to look at your kind of negative effects seriously, that could create quite big changes. But if your business model is not sustainable in the first place because it's incentivizing people to consume, and maybe we don't have so many resources that we should consume more, again, because I already named the textile industry, we have more clothes we need on this earth. And I myself, I'm training young people between 16 and 27 in social entrepreneurship. And social entrepreneurs, they aim to set up a business which in first place tries to have a positive impact. So it starts from, okay, where do we see problems and how can we change them, by using part of the logic of the market to say, okay, can I invent a product or a service that tackles this problem but also gives me a way of financing myself so I can sustain the work that I'm doing.
We at ReGeneration 2030 believe that Sustainable Development Goal number 12, which is sustainable production and consumption, is key to realizing all of the other sustainable development goals in Agenda 2030. When talking about businesses and human rights, it is also worth mentioning human rights due diligence. Human rights due diligence is a way for companies to proactively manage human rights impacts in which they are involved. This includes identifying and assessing human rights impacts that the company may cause or contribute to, and taking appropriate measures to address these impacts.
You probably heard and seen and witnessed a lot of the things that are happening, like, for example, some organizations and people are going overly critical, saying that whatever pollution is happening should stop, that businesses should stop, and just people should stop doing the terrible jobs that they do and just switch. And this is one extreme. Another one is when we speak about social, is that somebody is saying, yes, but these poor people who are doing this terrible job, for example, like mining and lower waged other pays that are related to chemicals, they can't stop it because they are dependent on that and their lives dependent on that, so they can't really just go and drop it. And there are some other people who are saying that usually corporations, we don't have the budget for sustainable solution, we don't have the budget for the research and development and stuff like that.
Let's talk a little bit about something that is called corporate social responsibility, often shortened to CSR. The concept of corporate social responsibility is generally understood to mean that corporations have a degree of responsibility not only for their economic consequences of their activities, but also for the social and environmental implications. So this is sometimes referred to as the triple bottom line approach, and it considers the economic, social, and environmental aspects of corporate activity.
If I think about also human rights, the exploitation can happen easier if it's far away and I don't know, right? I don't know, I don't feel, I cannot empathize. So basically, I don't have the capacity to care so much of something that is so far away if I cannot see it, if I cannot feel it. But if I have somebody, like one is of course is closer, maybe transport if it's transport close by, which is more ecologically important for emissions with the transport. But I'm also probably more able to say, but I don't want to have somebody working for a shitty job, shitty salary, or
it should be attractive to all different kinds of people. So of course some people do it from these very big ideals, like because equality is important. But I think it should also be fun and enjoyable for people, so that's what we see also on this market, that it's not just people coming here because they think it's the right thing to do, a lot of them do, but it's also because people think because the food is affordable, it is healthy, and it's nice, like there's nice things around it, there's nice ways of the whole experience of picking it up, and then often there's food also served. is something that it also makes it a kind of a nice experience, and I think that's also very important. It should also make sense because it's affordable and because it's enjoyable.
So what does human rights have to do with corporate social responsibility then? Well, human rights are relevant both to the economic, social and environmental aspects of corporate activity. For example, labor rights requiring companies to pay fair wages affect the economic aspects. And human rights such as the right to non-discrimination are relevant to the social aspects. And the environmental aspects of the corporate activity might affect a range of different human rights, such as the right to clean drinking water.
I think one inspiring principle that you also use within this organization is the time bank that you have. And this is basically that every hour is worth the same, so you can put 1 hour of your work, for example, as a volunteer in, and you can get another hour of work, for example, I don't know, like as if you need legal advice and somebody can give that, they may offer that work, right? And I can say I can pay with my time that I helped here distributing, for example, the food. And I think if we're then thinking about closing also pay gaps of different sectors, that's super valuable, and also saying, well, like, you know, your hour is the same as my hour because we both spend that time in it. And of course it does not have the same market value, but it's countering, I think, this balance.
So today I learned about a new expression called cultural sustainability, which I found, I think it was on Fashion Revolution. This expression, cultural sustainability, is aimed at describing, kind of considering cultural practices, cultural traditions, and stuff like that when doing traditional production of fabric or clothes or any product really. So to kind of apply that when you're talking about different aspects of social sustainability, what does culture, how do we sustain cultural and traditional practices in different production chains, especially considering in those that has to do with clothing, garment industries, fabric.
Stop buying from not sustainable producers. Check their sustainability cycles, their production cycles, and if it leaves questions to you, check more, ask, and by refusing buying from producers that are harming environment and using the underpaid labor, you are helping the people who are involved there. You are helping to stop pollution. Reduce. Look how much clothes you're actually buying. And this is now not only about buying from stores, but it's also buying from second hand, because sometimes you're going there and you're like, but I don't have this one. Stop for a moment and ask yourself, is it a need or a want? If that's a need, then of course get it. But if that's a want, do you actually truly need it? Hold yourself accountable to your own actions.
You know, there's so many possibilities to be a part of change or a kind of activism. You can share other accounts, you can share photos, talk to friends, talk to family, relatives. Just, you know, inform, spread knowledge. That's what we're trying to do. It's, of course, everyone doesn't know everything about everything.
Social sustainability is about justice, power, rights, and the needs of the individual. Some of us are privileged when it comes to these things, and some of us are not. Some of us get a head start simply because of our skin color, age, or gender, and some are constantly running up a hill. This became clear to me when a woman who I admire, who has experienced racism, said, and I quote, "We cannot be debating whether we have the right to live." And that sparked something within me. Because if we cannot accept each other and our differences, if we cannot come together, if we cannot lift each other up, how are we going to solve the climate and biodiversity crisis? How are we going to step up to these bigger challenges if we aren't ready to fight for anyone but ourselves?